Conversations That Matter is a partner program of the Center for Dialogue at Simon Fraser University. The production of this program is made possible thanks to the support of the following and viewers like you. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Can you start by giving me a description of what traditional Chinese medicine is?
Traditional Chinese medicine is a medicine which is one of the most ancient medicine. I would say more than thousands of years, and mainly emphasize in holistic healing as well as a natural way of approach, and emphasize more on preventive and balancing therapy.
So we can go back to about 1400 BC, I guess, by the Western calendar, which is about the time that traditional Chinese medicine first started to appear, as I understand. Is that correct?
That's correct, because Chinese medicine started a very long time ago. Even though it's coming from a long time ago, the medicine right now is still using the same philosophy, same formula of the Hoffer medicine and all this. This is show that it's very consistent.
So what is that philosophy? You talk about the philosophy. What is the philosophy of Chinese medicine?
Philosophy of Chinese medicine is, it looks very simple, but it's very complex also, such as like Yin Yang theory, Qi and Meridians, Zen Fu, organ system, and so on. I would say that one of the most natural way of approach and understanding of the nature of the environment, and use the best out of the environment for our own health also.
So much of it is about balance in nature, balance within the individual.
That's true, because the main thing in Chinese medicine, as you can see, that they have Yin Yang sign, and this is show that in life we all have to be balanced in between the two forces, which is called the Yin and the Yang. Even though they may be a little bit out of balance, but they will go back to the normal stage again. And that is the beauty of Chinese medicine, the understanding of making the physiological imbalance become a balancing state.
So we talk about the yin and the yang. I understand that the yin deals more with the upper part of the body, the yang more the lower part. Am I correct in that?
It's partly correct, but it's more than that. It's the yin can be a female, yang can be a male, and yin can be up, the yang can be a down, and then yin can be a daylight, yang can be a nighttime, and so on. And in that way, the balance of the physiological factors is so important in the medicine.
So when we take that into consideration, and then you talked about the meridians. How do the meridians line up in relationship to ensuring that there is that balance between the yin and the yang?
Yeah, it's a very interesting thing is these meridians have a yin meridians and yang meridians. And yin meridians are in the front of the body, yang meridian in the back of the body. They are complementing each other to balance the body. The yin meridian may be on the upper part of the body, yang meridian in the lower part of the body. They can also try to balance the flow of energy. Basically, if this balancing stage is broken down, and then there will have some physiological imbalance stage will come up. And in the physiological imbalance stage, you don't need to treat it. They can be reversibly getting better. But if yin and yang is imbalanced for a long time, later on, and then we become pathological changes, which is called structural damage, and all this will come up. By then, Western medicine find out that there is something wrong with the structure of the body.
So you grew up in an environment where you were treated through traditional Chinese medicine, and yet you chose to also pursue Western or allopathic medicine. Why did you make that choice initially to embrace looking at health from another perspective in addition to traditional Chinese medicine?
Yeah, I was actually Stu is very lucky that I was brought up in a family which is from traditional Chinese medicine. Our sixth generation back from my grandfathers are all Chinese physicians. And grandfathers would like to have this Chinese medicine also share with the medical colleagues. So he is always thinking of how he can introduce traditional Chinese medicine to his friends and colleagues. And the reason that I study Western medicine is because my grandfather wished me to interpret the Chinese medicine in the most scientific way, and at the same time to carry this arts of healing to the Western world, to share with our medical colleagues and friends, and so that everybody can practice the medicine which is called integrative medicine. And that's why I was trying hard to let my Western colleagues to understand the Chinese medicine, from the Chinese medicine people to understand Western medicine. On top, because I practice Buddhism and all this, I found that compassion, loving kindness is so important. Without loving kindness, there is no healing. Where there is no healing, there is no medicine. So I believe fully that integrated compassionate medicine is our next century medicine to go.
It's a combination.
Combination with love, treating the patient with respect to our dear patient. We should treat our patient as our teacher, not just like a patient. And then, because when we are young, we learn how to speak from our parents. When we get older, the teacher teaches how to make sentences. When we become university level, the professor teaches how to analyze the cases and so on. But when you come into practice, the only person who teaches you the most is our patient. So we have to learn from our patient. The most difficult patient is the most intellectual and the best case for us. We should not underestimate them, and because they are the treasure for the physicians is the patients.
Each patient.
Each patient.
And each patient is an individual.
Yeah, individually they come and teach you until you understand. If you don't understand, they will stay with you longer and nagging you and make you understand that finally you understand how to treat it, proper case.
But that's about having patience. It's about staying present with the patient.
Yes, you have to respect the patient. You have to love your patient like your own family. In that way, the healing process will proceed. If you don't have love and loving kindness to your patient, and then you don't treat them, it is your family, and you are not healing yet. That's why it's very important. There's a word in Pali we call karuna. Karuna means you should be treating everybody as it is yours. The same age like you is a brother, and then the same age, the older than you is like your father. You have to respect them, and the older individual, then we have to treat them like our grandparents. In that way, the healing will be connected with patient and you, and make this patient go another level of healing.
So you studied Western medicine in Burma, and then you chose to come to Canada.
Yes.
When did you come here?
In 1973, when I came here, and I was hoping to integrate my Western medicine and the traditional medicine, such as Chinese medicine and other complementary medicine.
So 1973 would be an interesting time to be coming to Canada, wanting to introduce traditional Chinese medicine into a model of healthcare that was resistant to anything outside of the allopathic model in North America. Even though the World Health Organization had just reached a point where it invited the uses of complementary and alternative medicines into healthcare, on the ground in Canada, there was resistance. And I'm sure you must have met with some of that resistance. And seeing as you came, as you say, with love in your heart and a desire to bring these two treatments together, what was that like for you in those early days when you first came here?
Yeah, I knew that it's not an easy task. But I knew that I'm also confident that if I have good intentions, with a good wills and good minds and open heart, I think I can win the heart of my colleagues and friends. Surely, when I first came, I tried to introduce the traditional Chinese medicine into the Western practice, and I have so much resistance. I was known as the biggest quack in Edmonton.
The biggest quack in Edmonton.
Edmonton because of I was treating with these acupuncture needles and moxibustions and all these things that, and with the cups and all these. So people look at me as a strange person, but surely with a good intention and you have a good will and good compassionate mind and you respect your own colleagues and friends, and surely they see the result. Once they see the result, they started to also learn the traditional Chinese medicine. That's why.
But that would be individual patients. We're looking at it at the moment through the lens of 2015 right now, looking backwards 4 decades ago.
Yeah.
That journey must have been challenging.
It's a very challenging, but I also find that with good intention and good wills, and you always success. I always find that. And that is my confidence, that I knew that one day the medicine have to be fused together, just like husband and wife, and working together toward the goal of well-being. Even I'm looking forward to see patient and doctor should be working together, hand in hand, heart in heart, and so toward the goal of a well-being of both people, not only patient but also the practitioner also.
I want to go back to the 1970s again, because I know that in Dr. Rogers' life, as he was now starting to embrace a wide range of complementary and alternative therapies, he met with tremendous resistance as well and almost lost his license to practice medicine.
Me too, the same thing. Yeah.
But here you are, you're in Edmonton, he's in Vancouver. You're starting to do similar kind of work. You're coming at it from different perspectives. At what point in your journey did you meet Dr. Rogers?
1995 or 6. So when I came to Victoria, I have a great respect to Dr. Rogers, because he's like my older brother, like, he is leading the role. And I, as a little younger brother, will follow and support whatever he is doing. And then I met him the first time was in the Association of Complementary Alternative Medicine of the Physician of British Columbia lectures when I was giving. And then I was talking to him, and I have a great feeling with him that we can work together. So from there onwards, we are close friends to each other. Because we are also bird of the same feather, get together, we are all together working toward the goal of well-being of our patients.
Did you meet Dr. Hoffer about that same time?
Yes, I have met him also, and these are, I would say, they are the people who are the treasure of medicine, that lead the medicine toward another direction. I have a great respect to them. Every night I pray for all these great physicians who have done so good to the patients.
So when we take a look at traditional Chinese medicine and orthomolecular medicine, such as practiced by Dr. Hoffer, functional medicine, similar to the path that Dr. Jeffrey Bland is taking right now, where do you start to see the parallels lining up? Because they all start talking about balance, and that when things are out of balance, disease is given an invitation to come and visit the body. Where do you see this alignment of these different perspectives on individual health?
In individual health, I would say that we should not only just looking at the physical body, we should look in the body, mind, and spirit, because in each human being, we have the body that we see, mind that was actions coming up, and sometimes sadness and emotional pollution can cause the illness from the mental point of view, then become physical. And most of all, I found the most important thing in medicine is spiritual part. That was never being clearly mentioned, but I found in the functional medicine they mentioned about these balancings and all these things. And then like traditional Chinese medicine, they also talk about yin yang and balancing plus harmonious among organ system. And I found one interesting thing that in Chinese medicine, and they have mentioned about the spiritual part have to be balanced first before you balance the rest of the body, so that the whole body is controlled by the spirit, human spirit. I found this need to be emphasized very deeply for the future of medicine. Future of medicine should be practiced more on spiritual part, not only to the patient but also self-cultivation of like the Qigong, Tai Chi Chuan, yoga, meditation. These are all spiritually trying to settle, grounded ourselves so that our body will heal ourselves. We forgot about ourselves, that the body can heal ourselves. And we have to give a chance to heal the body. That's what the complementary medicine of British Columbia physician conference they have introduced this was fascinating. I remember that Andrew Weil was there also.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to talk specifically a little bit about irritable bowel disease, you know, and the biome of the stomach and the intestinal tract, because it's so easy for that to start to get out of balance, especially if we're not paying attention to so many different aspects of our lives. How do you go about treating somebody who would have irritable bowel syndrome or other irritations within the bowel?
It's very interesting. We did not realize that how much impact of the psychological or mental components in every disorder, disease, especially in the GI tract. You know, you might heard about the stomach. If you worry too much, you got ulcers, you know, and this is common cause. And then if you have lots of sadness, you know, psychological trauma, child abuse, and all these things, and then you end up with colitis and all these things. So you can see that the greater components of the medical problems is also in the mental point of view, that we have to take care of this. And then one of the most beautiful things of medicine in the intestine is duodenum, which is we call the small bowel. And small bowel is in between the large bowel and the stomach. And then it's the function of the small intestine is, if it's out of balance, then nutritionally become deficiency and the healing power is going down. A lot of people didn't realize that small intestine is the organ which takes care of the whole healing part of the human body. And the stomach is to retain the food. And then the healing part is a small bowel, and the large intestine is mainly to censor, to what you call the eliminate some of the waste
and so on. Yes.
Yeah. So if when they are out of balance, and then the body give you the signs and symptoms, and telling you that we need to be helped, and then we have to know about how to help them. The best way of helping is to rebalance their functions so that they can function back to the normal stage.
So how do you help somebody rebalance? Because everybody, of course, comes to you from a different perspective, a different path.
Yeah.
How do you find
how to balance it?
How to balance?
Yeah, you can be simply start with nutrition. You know, nutritionally, you try to balance it by taking the food which is easily digested. And all the irritable bowels and all these things in Chinese medicine, if you want to approach from a Chinese point of view, is spleen qi deficiency, and you have a large intestine bowel imbalance. So you can do either acupuncture or acupressure or herbal medicine to rebalance the whole system of the body so that they can go back to the square one. I found the most interesting thing in Chinese medicine is Qigong. Qigong means it's a body, mind, and spirit regulating exercises, and then which is very important that we should take good care of ourselves, not only in physical way but also mental and spiritual way by doing physical exercise, mental awareness, and spiritual healing constantly. Even though you are healthy, you should be more healthy. I still remember one of my teachers told me that when the knife is sharp, you have to keep sharpening the knife so that when you want to use any time, this sharpened knife is very useful. So by practicing ourselves, self-regulation and self-care, self-cultivation, and there's no way that we can be out of balance again.
It's difficult, though, especially living here in, let's say, Edmonton or Vancouver, are the choices that we're given that allow us to consume products, adopt a lifestyle, attitude, spirituality that can knock us off track, they're ever present. How, in this environment, do you help someone regain balance in their life from every perspective, so that they can heal themselves?
You know, I always think about prevention is the most important
Yes.
thing. So before we have all these developed, we should be started teaching the younger generation, such as in the school, the simple breathing exercises, simple concentration exercises, simple phonation exercises, how to balance our body. And this should be started introduced in the grade 1, grade 2 elementary, so that they become interested and they become understanding of the value of taking care of their self. And that's why I started to teach Qigong and then to my patients. And then the main thing is not only I'm treating them, but also I want to let them learn themselves that, hey, I can also do myself to make myself happy and healthy. Why not? So that's why I started to teach. And I try to divide it into what I have learned when I was young. And I can see that I have to teach 10 sections. Right now, I'm only go up to the third section because there are so many people need to be started from the beginning and all this. So we need to start teaching. I have a feeling the best things for the physician or healthcare provider is not only treating patients, but also guide them and teach them, give them educational, and not only that, but also the retreat and spiritual enlightenment, and those kind of pathway we should teach them. I think Canada should lead the world's the most healthiest people. That's why when I go to Order of Canada, Michael John, Governor General, asked me, what do you like to do with your knowledge? And I said, I'd like to do teaching and change the whole people of Canada be the most healthiest people in the world.
So when you take a look at where we were back in 1973, when you first came here, and there was tremendous resistance to the quack of Edmonton, as you called yourself, and today, how far are we into this journey so that we can become a healthier population?
I think we have improved quite a bit, because I look at my Qigong classes right now. When I look at the back, and I already have more than 4,000-5,000 people that we trained it.
4,000 to 5,000 people that you've trained.
I believe so, but I never counted. But when I go back to my what you call CV, and I look at it, how many times each and every time is, let's say, it's about 70 people, and then if you teach about 100 times or 200 times, then you have thousands of those. But the important thing here is one teach the other teach the other. we call the lexicon effect. They just go. In that way, we all learn from each other.
So when I take a look at the acceptance of complementary and alternative therapies and how it continues to grow, I see the level of recognition of the Dr. Rogers Prize. That when it first was awarded, nobody was paying much attention, but now it's becoming a prestigious prize that's peer reviewed, and there is a shift that's going on. What happened? How come the shift has happened, and it appears to me to be accelerating? And I'm curious from your perspective as to what do you think happened?
I think this give opportunity for people to be looking more on complementary medicines and then have more interest in this. And I really like to see a center which is providing with all these beautiful preventive things, such as the park or something. Even I just wrote an article in the journal about the China Gardens. I'd like to see the China Garden is not with these flowers and trees and all these. These are all beautiful things. I want to see this used as a medically, like every couple of hours we have Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga practitioners, and then we have like a Chinese Harbor Garden tea and all these things. In that way, make people aware that I'd like to also see that the hospital is not only putting patients, but outside hospital, I call it as a garden. Then patient can roll around and look at the beautiful flowers and the smell of the trees and the waterfall sounds and doing Tai Chi, Qigong, yoga, meditation, and so on.
Right.
In that way, the whole thing is shifting toward the more natural, preventive, and all the ancient traditional medicine also resurviving. Just like even our native Indian medicine should be also given priority of being practiced, and such as sweat lodge and vision quiz would be a very good way of self-cultivation.
I would like to ask you about Dr. Joseph Wong. How important was it that you were able to work with him in introducing traditional Chinese medicine here in Canada?
I would say Dr. Joseph Wong is a precious person for Canada. And he had started this Acupuncture Foundation of Canada in 1972, if I'm not making a mistake. And with Linda Rapson, and they have started to give this Acupuncture Foundation of Canada courses. And same thing like we have in UFA that I have given called Medical Certificate Program of Medical Acupuncture. We come up, I came up a little later, but he was the first person who started. And then followed by that, we have Angelica Batchap and McMaster University programs and so on. I would say that we all try very hard to spread our knowledge and experience to our colleagues and friends for the future of Canada, flourishing this acupuncturists in everywhere in Canada. I would say Dr. Joseph Wong, Angelica Batchap, Linda Rapson. If I miss somebody else, please excuse me, but they are all the precious people to make this event become successful and fruitful.
You know, one other thing that strikes me as we talk about Chinese medicine and orthomolecular functional medicine and so on, and we take a look at the work of Dr. Sidney Devorah and how she is moving forward with the N of 1 studies and how it allows us to understand how different treatments affect different people, and we get that information on an individual basis. How important do you think that is going to be as we move forward and start to, in a way, create or develop a body of what is almost empirical evidence about the effect of these treatments.
Yeah, so Nita is the most precious person, I would say, here that have lead the whole thing. I think you might heard about, we just recently established IHI, we call it Integrated.
That's right. I
Health
was there earlier
Institute.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, and she have put so much effort and make the medicine become closer in between the West and the East and the other complementary medicine. And I fully support whatever she is doing, and she's a treasure of Edmonton, Alberta, not only in Edmonton, Alberta, but also Canada also.
So what traditional Chinese medicine and complementary and alternative therapies bring to the equation isn't just treating the symptom, it's treating the individual.
That's right, individual, not only in physical way, but also in mental and spiritual part. And I found that a lot of people who practice traditional Chinese medicine and should emphasize more on treating the spiritual part. This is the ancient physicians that like us to treat in this way was become a little bit lack of going into that yet. I found maybe we are not sure what's going on, but it's a time for us to move forward to treat the spiritual part of medicine rather than just in the physical and mental.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you taking the time to share your insights and experience with us. And we are looking forward to a glorious future for complementary and alternative therapies, so that maybe we don't even call it complementary and alternative therapy any longer. It's just healthcare.
Yeah, I think I like to use the term called universal medicine, because unique means only one. There's no division. If we say east-west, that means we are divisions. So the best way of calling this medicine is we call universal medicine. That's for the human beings to treat the best for our dear patients who are in need of help. And we as a practitioner have responsible not only treating them but also teach them and also give them the guidance. And also one more thing I want to stress is we as a practitioner should create something for the future generation of our children's and the precious generations to carry on doing the future of the medicines. And I would say integrated, compassionate medicine is our next century medicine.
Thank you very much.